Hello everyone. Today is day 5 of our landscape painting, and one of you have asked that if we cannot do dry brushing, then what do we do? So dry brushing is something which needs some amount of practice. If you do it on a rough sheet of paper and then go back to your main painting, it would be better. In case you are unable to do that, and because some of you have said that okay, you want some other technique instead of that, so I would say that we can do wet on dry. So I will tell you how to do wet on dry. The only thing when you want to do a wet on dry is that if you do not want streaks in your painting, then you have to have adequate amount of water in your brush. Adequate is not dripping, but the brush has to be soaked in water along with the paint. Also, we will be looking at how to do charging. Charging is another technique where we put a glaze of thin glaze of water on the part of the painting which we will do, and we drop a thicker consistency of paint. So let us find out how to do that. If we let this section dry, then only we will work in further on that. Yesterday we had worked on this part and to do the charging technique. But this water needs to settle down, then only we can put in our colors. This is a drier mix. It has very less water. Like here, I'm just doing dots and dashes because with a small brush and covering a small area, while covering a small area at a time, you cannot go any more than this. So it's best that we use just dots and dashes in the painting. Okay, now what we will do is that I'll tell you how to even out your dome. So with clear water, and I have some blues. I go with a lighter value of my blue, and this is cerulean blue. Cerulean blue happens to have a greenish tinge to it, makes this kind of consistency, watery or a very light consistency. In this area also, in this while doing this dome which we are doing now, you can just apply a glaze directly on your dome. But I just wetted it because sometimes doing a large area you can get streak marks. If you are using a smaller brush, you can go a brush size bigger than this. This is about 8, not about, it is 8. And wherever you see darker areas, you can just place few of your darker values. This area is not very prominent, so you can cover it once with your whatever colors you have, pink, violets, any of the colors. Now I'm going to show you how we do the lighted sections within the lighted areas. So we'll take the color which we can see on the reference image, and with a thin brush we will be putting down these colors. If it is giving you a hard edge, you can take another brush, a damp brush which is not wet. It has to be damp, that is, once you wet your brush, you soak the excess water on a tissue, and then on top of the line or shapes or marks that you have created, you have to blend it with water. That is why I am having two brushes with me. These are very light marks, so I am going with very thin value. If I mistakenly put a darker value, I need to blend it quickly with my damp brush. Here I am darkening the sides of the pillars because a light and dark will give us the right kind of shapes. Marking out the banisters. This area is also dark, so you can go relatively darker, but follow the values what you can see on your reference image. In the same way, in this lower section of the building as well, I'm putting in very light values. Here I see it's darker than that, so I'm darkening these. The banisters are inside in the inside area, and the pillars happen to stand out, so I'm darkening the insides.
Once I've done that, I'm blending it with my damp brush, not wet brush. If we bring on a wet brush, all the colors will spread. We just want the colors to mingle. I'm doing the same thing for the other pillars also. I'm darkening their sides first, then I'll blend it with my damp brush. Changing the brush. See, it is going lighter now. We need to repeat this for all the pillars and the shapes in between them. I had just done this area, but I feel that, not just I feel, but I can see also on my reference image that it is still darker, so I can go with a darker value of color as well. Again going in slightly darker with my color so that the pillar will pop up and it will look as though it is in front of those banisters. You see, now the pillar looks much more popped up in front of us. Here again putting in my colors and blending it. These are just small dots and dashes which I can see on my reference image, and I am placing those and blending them out with my other brush. This is a small area, we will use a small brush. I'm using 0 size brush to paint and round 2 brush to blend it, because round 2 has a very good point. Very thin consistencies I am using. It's a tinted consistency where you add 1 drop of paint to 24 drops of water. It's like lemonade. The consistency of a lemonade is a tinted consistency. Here I am going slightly darker because this area I see is slightly darker, so I'll be using a similar value. Here again it is darker, so I am going relatively darker.